So it's like in the big picture of this whole event, like, does it really matter? No, it's just like little observations and stuff. I just
Right.
find it funny how they're having like Raw guys talk about like cover the Raw Chamber later, and they show like Jericho getting ready, and then like they're initially talking as the chamber's being lowered. Then it's like, oh, it's a SmackDown chamber.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that obviously made sense to them when they were doing this. So, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Not at all.
So next we'd have the World Heavyweight Title #1 Contenders Elimination Chamber match. We'd have Finlay versus MVP versus The Undertaker versus Batista versus Big Daddy V versus the Great Khali. The first two participants to begin in this chamber match were Batista and Undertaker. Ton of history between those two. Both have faced off in several epic battles in the previous year. As I stated in the No Way Out 07 show, for me, bar none, best rivalry of 2007 without a doubt.
Oh, definitely.
I just love that feud. And Finlay, MVP, Big Daddy V, and Great Khali would all be placed in the pods. And also, quick note, side note, really, MVP was enjoying his long reign as United States champion still at this time.
Yeah, lucky him. He didn't have to defend it against Ric Flair at the Rumble. Another quick note. Besides Batista and Undertaker, this SmackDown Elimination Chamber match is like very weak. Besides like maybe MVP, but like other than that.
Yeah, because like I thought that like no MVP was definitely a good piece. The only thing I will say is going into this, I mean, it's funny how they start with Taker and Batista. I mean, I'm not complaining because they really just like made this match in a lot of ways. But I think what's kind of like, I guess, I don't know if funny is the right word about it, is I guess it's just like, it's kind of like, I don't know what the word is, but it's like, they start out and everything, and then like, I don't want to get into the full match because we're just going to go through this thing. Got it really in complete detail. But it's like, those guys, like, they have to be like the two guys that like people going into this could like really see as like the only two legitimate guys who have a shot at winning this thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I mean, Batista had his issues with Edge, as did Taker. Of course, Edge once cashed in like Money in the Bank on Taker, and Batista was the previous world champion, and Edge won that triple threat match with Taker in it. So so they both have had their differences with him. So those are the only two guys that would make any sense, because the rest of them were just like really a bunch of heels. So that's the only thing.
Finlay was actually not heel at the time. He was actually just turned.
Oh yeah, he was just turning face. Yeah, but you knew it wasn't going to be Finlay and Edge.
Yeah.
So yeah. Not saying you thought that or you're saying that, but So Undertaker and Batista would begin. Taker would be in control for the beginning part, trying to wear Batista down, but Batista would come back with some punches and an elbow. Then both guys would go down with the big double big boot spot. Then the first pod to open and the first guy to enter was Big Daddy V. They botched this a bit because it looked like Khali was going to enter.
Yeah.
And Michael Cole was actually in the middle of saying the former world champion was entering, which that can only mean Khali because he's the only other former world champion in this match besides Taker and Batista, who had already entered. Big Daddy V would come in and dominate. He'd headbutt Taker. He'd go, and then he'd send him basically he'd send him flying out of the chamber practically.
Yeah, I honestly forgot about that spot. Did not know that spot was there.
Yeah, I did too, actually. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. And then, yeah, I guess that was enough to just send him to the door. I don't know what happened there. That was just.
I don't think the door was even fully closed.
Oh yeah, that could have been, because I'm like, really? I mean, you didn't really do that much to him.
Yeah, I think that was just botched.
Probably. So then, Big Daddy V would get back in the ring. He would charge after Batista in the corner. Big Daddy V would get hit with a spine buster then from Batista. Then Batista would throw him out of the ring onto the chamber steel flooring on the outside. The next, Big Daddy V would get hit with the DDT from Undertaker. And then following that, Batista would go for a cover and eliminate Big Daddy V. He did not last very long in this at all, but I guess you probably couldn't think he was going to anyways.
You know, this match you can definitely tell big guys, like the very big guys, are not going to last long at all.
Yeah, I mean, this was Big Daddy V and like Cowie. I mean, these are like these two like giants. So like whenever you have those kind of guys usually involved in this, especially like, you know, you got Cowie, he's like, you know, 7'3", or 400 pounds. I mean, that guy's just so large. And then you got Big Daddy V, you know, he's like close to like 500 pounds. I mean, so like you know, in terms of like being able to go the course of a distance, like of like a long like kind of match, like like that was going to happen. So
right.
So that's just how that had to be. But immediately following that, Batista would then try to cover Taker, who was like, I guess he was just already like laying down. Like try to cover him and try to eliminate him, but he wasn't able to. The next we'd have the Great Khali enter the match. He kind of dominated as well, kind of like Big Daddy V did. Khali would hit Undertaker with the Khali plunge, but Taker would kick out at 2. Khali would place Batista in the vice grip, but Batista would escape and spear Khali. Then Undertaker would put Khali in the Hell's Gate, and he'd tap out.
Let's not forget You Can't Wrestle chant.
Oh, yeah, there was a You Can't Wrestle chant. Yeah, I forgot to put that in there. So Khali would be the second eliminated. Yeah, despite being the two hardest guys, they'd be made quick work of.
This wasn't really a chamber match up until like the final 4 were actually in the ring at the same time.
Yeah, because like we still hadn't even had the other two guys enter yet. Yeah, then it'd be just back to Batista and Undertaker. They'd fight some more, and then Finlay would enter. He'd come in immediately. Would eat a big boot from Taker right off the bat.
Yeah.
Finlay would hit Taker, though, with the Celtic Cross, but Taker would kick out at 2. Later, Finlay would toss Undertaker outside of the ring onto the steel. Then he'd throw Taker into both the pods on each side, also sending him into one that would even break. The final entry would be MVP, who was reluctant to get involved. So Undertaker would go over and beat him up a bit.
That was funny.
Yeah, that was funny, actually. When he would enter the ring, he'd hit Batista with that kick he'd do, and then he'd Undertaker with a boot in the corner. That's the one thing I like. I always liked MVP. I really felt that guy should have been a world champion. Didn't feel like he got like the proper push, and they never got his fair shake that he really deserved. But the only thing I will say is he did not have some of the greatest finishing moves of all time.
Nope.
Because the Playmaker, didn't really like that move, I still to this day find that funny. That was actually, some people still may not know this, but go back and watch 02. That was Randy Orton's original finishing move.
Yes, it was. It was called the Ozone.
Oh God, that's awful. See the Playmaker. That's actually not a bad name, but the Ozone. Oh my lord.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. Then he did that, like as I said, like that. He did that kick thing he did to Batista. Didn't like that move. The boot in the corner. I don't know. You were saying?
No, I finished my thought.
Oh, okay. I thought you had something to say. So, then he choked Finlay with that MVP chain that he always wore, and he'd then try to eliminate him. Undertaker had begun to... Oh, wait. You go first.
He bust up Taker with it.
Oh, yeah. That was actually what I was going to say next. Undertaker had then begun to bleed, but he's still fighting. MVP would try to get away from Taker by climbing up on top of one of the pods. Don't know if that was the greatest idea ever. And as it turned out, he'd end up setting himself up as Undertaker would grab him by the neck and would throw MVP off the top of the pod, crashing to the canvas below. Spot of the match.
Oh, by far. Actually, that could be the second.
Oh, I take that back. That could be the second. We were getting to the best part of the match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should not. Yeah, you're right there. Okay, bump of the match.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
There we go.
There's a W. And then Finley would actually be the one who would pin him, and MVP would then be the third eliminated. Next, Hornswoggle would sneak up from underneath the ring and chamber and hand the Swaley off to Finley. He'd hit Taker and Batista with it. Then Batista was actually looking to hit a Batista bomb at one point on Finley. Then he'd get out of it with a shot to the head with the Shillelagh. He'd go for the pin, and Batista would kick out. I thought I had this in Do Not Disturb. That should not be happening. Should be getting ESPN notifications while this is going on.
Let's also mention, too, that shot with the Shillelagh to the head also busted Batista up.
Yes, and then he'd go for the pin after that, and Batista would kick out. Undertaker would then chokeslam Finley onto the steel on the outside. Ow. And that would be enough to score an elimination. So Finley would be the fourth man eliminated. So now we're down to the final two, who are actually the first two.
As expected.
Yeah. I mean, as I said before, these have got to have been like the only two guys you could really see winning this. So that made sense. Both of them would start out by trading blows with one another. The crowd going yay for Undertaker and boo for Batista. Bootista.
Yeah, starting.
It's kind of how it is whenever they had one of their one-on-one encounters, like when they throw trade blows with one another, because I remember the crowds were always on Taker's side. Like, he was always the favorite, and then Batista was kind of the one they'd boo. I remember that mostly at WrestleMania 23, like the crowd was totally on Undertaker's side.
Yeah.
Yet again, I think they try to kind of play it off as like he wasn't a heel obviously at the time, but I think Batista kind of tried to work that whole program as the heel, at least at that point going into Mania.
Oh yeah, he did. He totally did. You could really tell he's trying to work against the bad guy.
So Batista would hit a Batista bomb and Taker would kick out. Batista would deliver dozens of punches to Taker up in the corner, but that would put him in perfect position for Taker to prompt him up and hit the last ride. Taker would cover him. Batista would kick out at 2. Taker would signal for the end, but Batista would send him to the outside. Batista would get Taker up in a power slam-like position on his shoulder and ram his head into the chamber. He'd go to do so again, but Taker would counter. This was the spot of the match.
Yeah.
He'd go to do so again, but Taker would counter that by flipping over the top rope and then turning into a tombstone pile driver for the win. I thought that was a great finish, very creative. And, of course, by winning this, Undertaker would go on to face the World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania.
This 15-0 streak on the line at the time.
All in all, this won't go down as one of the greatest Elimination Chamber matches ever, but in my eyes, it was still a pretty good one for me.
Oh, it picked up once after Great Khali got eliminated. That's when it picked up.
Yeah, so Taker would win 29 minutes, 28 seconds, 3 3/4 from you. I was kind of on the fence. I was kind of on the fence between 3 1/4 and 3 1/2, but it was still pretty good nonetheless. I liked it. I've seen worse chambers, that's for sure, and this was definitely this is far from a bad one.
Like the MVP spot definitely helped me out with the rating.
Yeah, just the finish and.
Yeah, just that's what.
Even the Finley elimination where he chokeslammed him out on the steel, like.
Oh yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, so like once we got down to those guys, it got good. So then next we'd have a backstage segment with Edge and the Edgeheads, Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Ryder mentions that Taker's 15-0, as you had mentioned at this point of WrestleMania. Edge is nervous about facing him, but he doesn't want to look past Rey Mysterio on this night. Then Teddy Long would interrupt them by saying that with Vicky being out for the night, he's in charge. And to prevent any outside interference, he's banning Hawkins and Ryder from ringside for the world title match. You feel me on that, playa? Then after that, we'd have a WrestleMania 24 commercial with the SpongeBob music playing in the beginning with Kelly and Mae Young as the lifeguards.